So it was a very short announcement. At least 5 times, Acharya Devi have been telling me, please come to this place. And on Sunday, he called me another time, so I could not say no. And actually, what he wanted me to speak about is about the temple which he is about to construct. The temple for Lord Nrsimhadev. As Bhakti Marga have main deities always Nrsimhadev, all the temples, but most of the temples that we have been made, is always Lord Nrsimhadev. In September there will be one opening, huge one in New York actually, in Elmira. We have acquired the church itself and huge Nrsimhadev inside, 12-foot Nrsimhadev. So Acharyaji is building a wonderful temple here. It's about Lord Nrsimhadev in a very special form of Lord Nrsimha. You can see on his chest actually. There's a nice statue of Ganda Virunda. And in Ganda Virunda, in his clothes, there is a lion and an elephant. Yeah, an elephant here. It's very symbolic actually. The Ganda Virunda in itself is a very enigmatic figure. Whether there is a big discussion actually whether this form of Nrsimhadev had existed or not. Because there is a lot of debate actually about that. Actually, so Ganda Virunda, the first mention of Ganda Virunda, of course, it is in the Puranas. There are many Puranas which talk about Ganda Virunda. But most wonderful, most beautiful who talk about is the Mahabharata itself. Where Lord Krishna telling Arjuna that there is mystical figures, figures which we can't imagine, which strength they hold. Even Sharava, the lion and birds mix, these are all in Mahabharata. Where they talk about very powerful figures. So of course, this aspect, which actually it is the aspect of the one which he is going to put inside is Ashta Mukha, the 8 face Ganda Virunda, which is facing the 8 direction actually. So what is the word Ganda Virunda means? The word in itself, Ganda, means hero, heroic, and Virunda means terrifying, terrible. So it's a very terrifying aspect, actually, of Lord Nrsimhadev. So in the Mahabharata, Bhagavan Krishna spoke about Ganda Virunda as a mighty eagle with 2 heads, like what we see on his chest. And it holds a lion in one clothes and an elephant in another clothes. It shows the power actually, the strength which that bird has. It's showing its power over, normally elephant is a very mighty animal, which symbolizes great strength in itself. But here he's holding in its clothes an elephant like nothing. And lion, which is the king of all animals, it is also subdued as nothing. So that two mighty animals which dominate the forest actually, here that mighty eagle is holding that. So Bhagavan Nrsimhadev, actually, according to stories, actually, the story of Gangaveruda come only in the 14th century. It appeared only in the 14th century. It didn't, before that, there is no mention. Actually, the aspect of Lord Nrsimhadev we don't mention anywhere. In the Shastra is not mentioned. But of course, there is different, like for example, Vijaya Tirtha. It's a great guru of Sri Raghavendra Swami. Actually, it is not his guru. Actually, it was his himself in his previous incarnation as the guru, great guru of Vijayanagar, Vijayanagar dynasty, which is in the 13th century. Last time when I was in India, I went to Hampi, which is the seat of the Vijayanagar. The Hampi is where Kishkinda, this is the place where Hanumanji was. And this is the place where the kingdom of Vijayanagar emanated. And of course, the Raj Guru, which was, what was his name? Vijayatirtha. So Vijayatirtha, he was the one who really brought forth the image of Gangaveruda Nrsimha. It was in the 14th century. So if we see that from a historical point of view, Sri Ramanujacharya was already in the 11th century. So from that time on, there was always a clash between the Vaishnava and the Saivite. So there was always this clash, because that started already with the Chola dynasty itself. So from that on, there was always that quarrel. So Saivite came with one story of when Lord Nrsimhadev have manifest himself, and of course in his mightiness, no one could calm him down. So all the devas, as you have read about in the Bhagavad itself, explain that all the devas come forth, try to calm, but it was not possible. And finally is Prahlad Maharaj. Through his devotion, because it is through Prahlad prayer, but Bhagavan to fulfill the word of his bhakta. When Hiranyakashipu asked, is he in that pillar? He said, yes, he is inside of you. Of course, I'm not going to detail about that. You know about it. He said, yes, he is in the pillar. He is in everywhere. There's no place that he's not. If we break a pillar, we will not find God. But to prove the word of Prahlad, he manifests himself from the pillar. And of course, he fought with Hiranyakashipu and killed Hiranyakashipu. This is also beautifully described, Bhagavan, which is so mighty, in that mightiest form he have taken, Do you think he have to enact that war with Hiranyakashipu? He don't need to. But to fulfill also the promise which Brahma have given. You see how they work all together. The Trimurti are not separate from each other. They work hand in hand. To fulfill what Brahmaji have given Vardhan to Hiranyakashipu, that he can't be killed outside or inside, up and down with any weapon, by neither animal, asura or devas, So Bhagavan have fulfilled everything. So here, fulfilling the word of Prahlad Maharaj, fulfilling the word of Brahmadev, not to go against the blessing of Brahmaji. So to fulfill that, he manifests and kills Hiranyakashipu. And it's so funny how he's killing Hiranyakashipu, He's digging inside of his stomach. Actually, he's looking inside if there's any other Prahlada. If one can, from one asura, such bhakta have come out. As Prahlad, because Prahlad Maharaj, is considered the greatest devotee of Bhagavan. So if one such devotee having born from an asura, Prahlad, here, Lord Nrsimhadev is looking for another one if there is another one. But you see, when you open, you can't find, you have to dig inside. And he was digging. And of course, sometimes the intestine is on the way, you have to dig it out to cook properly. So that's what he was looking. If there's another Prahlad inside, if such great bhakta, which is quite rare. So of course, you see, the story in the Puranas and in the Bhagavad talk about that story only. So, Rajguru Vijay Tirtha, probably through his meditation, because he was a Prahlad himself, because Prahlad Maharaj himself have incarnated as him. Then later on he manifested as Sri Raghavendra Swami. So Prahlad himself, he's giving his own story. He's telling, which is not written in the scriptures. Being Prahlad, of course, he have a different story to tell. So this is the story where, in short, Lord Nrsimhadev was fierce, nobody could stop him. So all the devas tried, could not. Then Shiva took a similar form. Shiva combined with Devi Parvati and also Mahalakshmi together. Because the aspect of Sarveshwara is a fusion of Mahalakshmi, Durga, Parvati, and Shiva himself. It is lion and birds, and man, three aspects together. So, of course, from the Sai-Vai point of view, they say, yes, Sarveshwara subdued Nrsimhadev. But when he was subdued by that aspect of Shiva, he took another form of himself, which is Gandhabhirunda Nrsimha. So this is the story where it shows then he subdued Shiva. Of course, we like in the Vaishnava like to say yes, according to the scriptures, they say that he killed Shiva. Who can kill Shiva? In the Shastra, it says Shiva is Bhagavan himself in another form. There is no difference between Mahavishnu and Lord Shiva. It is another form of Srimad Narayana himself to fulfill the dissolution of the creation itself. Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva, the Trimurti. So how? Why would he kill himself? He would not. Why would he destroy something? This is the story which have been added upon that, so that each one will claim that we are better. But Bhagavan can't do it, because this aspect of Gandhabhirunda himself is a fusion of Shiva, Devi Parvati and Mahalakshmi. Prityangala Devi. So all three is that aspect of the Gandhavirunda. As Acharya Timin is making that deity of Gandhavirunda, that aspect of Gandhavirunda, like eight face, which is looking at all directions. So each face is very symbolic in itself. Each direction, like it is very symbolic. So each face of the Nrsimhadev also is very symbolic. So one face which gives you the face which turned toward the east, normally it is said that it is the one which destroyed all black magic. Now, people who come, with negative energy, that face, whenever you're praying to the Lord Nrsimhadev in the east direction, is destroying all the negative energy which comes from dark forces. And of course, then it goes all around. The one which gives you protection, the other face that gives you riches, the other face which gives you inner strength, spiritual strength, and other faces that give you every desire that you wish. So like that, all the faces of Nrsimhadev, they represent certain qualities, certain gift which, while worshipping Bhagwan in that aspect, his blessing will be upon. But one thing is that is important, whenever we approach Bhagwan in that aspect, we have to be, our mind actually have to be pure. Our mind should be a mind of service. We should never forget why Bhagwan came. He came from the innocence of Prahlad Maharaj. And whenever we approach him, we have to approach him with the same quality. We have to approach him with our mind, which is for service to him. And I'm sure this Nrsimhadev, that aspect of Nrsimhadev, you don't find anywhere. In India, I don't know which place they have. Yeah, but the stamp, you will find the stamp of the Gandhavirunda also in Kerala. The seal of the Kerala government, even nowadays, it's from the ancient time, let's put it in the Hellenic time in Greece, they also have the eagle which is two-headed. Russia have his flag, also have the two-headed eagle. That is symbolized of power and strength, because it controls both east and west. So when Gandhavirunda take that aspect with the two-headed eagle, it symbolizes the balance between the east and the west, and it shows the power of control, power that we are under his control, under the control of that aspect. Like I was saying, in the Hellenic time, they had that symbol. It emerged from Cappadocia around 2,500 years ago. That is the oldest known from this aspect of. And of course, we are talking about Lord Nrsimhadev in that aspect. So you see Lord Nrsimhadev in the Gandhavirunda, the deity. I think the picture that you sent me, it has also the face of Hanuman. We have the face of the Varaha, lion, Hayagriva. So you see, we have different aspects of things. So that temple, I think, will be very powerful place. It has a center point of energy. See, all the temple of Nrsimhadev, they are not just random temples. Like this world nowadays, when we look at the world itself, how is the world? The world is we can't say that the world is peaceful. The world is in a chaotic state. Why is the world in a chaotic state? There is one predominant figure why the world is in a chaotic state. It is because there is untruth. There is lie everywhere. When you lie, what happens? Can you flourish? You can't flourish. And we see the same thing, with the world itself, that when there's lie, the world goes chaos everywhere. So due to that chaos, can we be happy? We can't be happy. As much as we say, yes, we are happy, your happiness is not very short. It's not long-term happiness. Because of that aspect. So to bring back that, we have to become truthful. We have to purify ourselves. And Bhagavan, is so merciful. We have taken different aspect, different form, but allowed us to serve Him. Not for His sake. We serve Him for our sake. Because He don't need purification. But we do. We need Him more than He needs us. But at the same time, He also needs us. He needs us because when we call ourselves devotee, we have a different relationship to Him. And that's what He longs for. He longs for that love. The same way we long for Him, as being the devotee, we long for Him, we long to serve Him, we long to be with Him. That is our aim. And He also longs. He longs our love. That's the only thing. So I'm sure, Acharya, that will be a very wonderful temple, and also Lord Nrsimhadev is a very powerful energy point where it destroyed all the negativity, not only in that sanctuary itself, but in the whole surrounding. Just to tell you a funny story, Swami Tulsidas, which is in charge of the ashram in America, he wrote to me, sent me an article from the Elmira, the region. He said for the first time, the crime rate in Elmira have decreased. And you see, this is where the one have choose to be. And funny thing is, I will tell you, that place, which is Elmira, when they told me, how they were talking about Elmira, I thought it was in a far away land where there are only few houses and there's nobody really around. So when I went there, I was surprised. It's a town. It's a big town actually, Elmira. And there's many more people than I was expecting living there. And the funny thing is that in Elmira itself, that road is called Church Road. So, Church Road means, they told me about it, it was Church Road. That was the only one church there. And that also is closed down, we bought it, and it's finished. And they're probably very nasty people. Actually, on that road, because it's called Church Road, there's hundreds of churches. All kind of churches that you can think about is there. But the last church is the temple of Lord Nrsimhadev. So all of them lead them to Nirvana. It's so funny, I was laughing about it. So I pray that Lord Nrsimhadev bless you all, protect you all, and also give Acharya his blessing that whatever you have taken, it's not only for you, it's for generation to be, and it's for the whole Lokachandra, for the welfare of, the world itself, for the welfare of everybody. That Lord Nrsimhadev give you the strength and that this temple will live spiritually. Very good.
Jai Gurudev.
Để đây là sự vay của Abril pour Swami